Good morning, everyone. Hi, my name is Menachem Creditor, and I serve as Scholar in Residence for UJ Federation of New York. We come to you every Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock in the morning, for some words of Torah, a little bit of song, a little bit of inspiration. This is a chance for us to come together and start the day with purpose, to see each other, and to enjoy this really sublime light that is pouring in through my window. I hope you're near a window. I hope you are near some air. And today's a complicated day in America. So what I want to do is start with a blessing for learning, share a little bit of Torah, and think together. This is that kind of moment that we must, if we are to be purposeful today, if we are to make sure that life is our commitment, we have to do some very big thinking today. So let's start with a blessing. It's good to see you. Friends, I want to start by dedicating our learning today to the memory of George Floyd. I want to lift up the voices of all of my colleagues, black preachers and ministers, community leaders. I want to praise the leadership of UJ Federation for making the very public statements that it has, including calling for justice for George as part of a global Jewish response, which is not in front of the African American response. The important part of being an appropriate ally is for me to know that, of course, the problem is mine, but that I walk through this world not quite white. Jews have never been considered white, whatever that actually means. But I know that I'm not black in America, and that means something too. The leadership in the Jewish community that Jews of color are showing is actually the best way for me to support our part of this response that needs to continue happening, and certainly hasn't happened enough. I continued over Shavuot and over Shabbat, turning to the words of a modern prophet who walked arm in arm with another modern prophet. Abraham Joshua Heschel walked with Dr. King in Selma and spoke out on religion and race countless times during his career. And so what I wanted to do was point to this week's Parsha because it is important for us to stay rooted in the rhythm of our Jewish lives. It is what holds us safe, it's what holds us as a people, it's what grounds me in each individual day of a year. The fact that we have a calendar and a Torah and tradition and peoplehood, all of those things keep me safe. But they also, I just said they keep me safe. What a thing to consider. What a thing to consider. I also feel, this is something to point out, especially on this platform, I feel the absence of comments right now because it's hard to figure out what to say. I hope that what I say today doesn't come out wrong. I hope that I only say helpful words. I hope that I remember when to be quiet and to listen to other people. To remember that leadership is a collaborative effort, and that injustice against one of us is injustice against all of us, and that doesn't put me at the forefront of the fight. It means that I need to be standing shoulder to shoulder and perhaps a step behind those whose voices have not been heard, those who haven't been safe, those who haven't been able to breathe. I haven't had to have the talk with my sons the way black parents have to have with their sons. I know that. And I know that given this moment that we are in, we're home, but we're not. There are protests happening all over the United States and the world, truly. And that if we do not live up to what the Torah tells us this week about the fallibility of leaders and what they must do to be held accountable, to hold themselves accountable, to remember that they're part of a communal, societal order that calls for justice, and that when we make mistakes, we are called to say, I made a mistake. In Parshat Naso this week, we are told over and over what to do when you make a mistake. If I make a mistake, but when it comes to the part where the leader is told what to do, it doesn't say if you make a mistake. This Torah portion really importantly says when I make a mistake, because leaders do. That does not excuse the mistakes. It does not make them less accountable. It means that when our leaders make mistakes, it is a Jewish value to expect contrition. It is a Jewish value to expect them not only to apologize, but to repair their behavior. An image from Atlanta with the police chief, a white woman standing in a crowd of protesters just listening. That's a leader. The image of white policemen, I don't know in which city, taking the knee, standing in solidarity with the pain of the black community. The images and words and amplifications that so many have offered to the voices of those directly affected, to hear Eric Garner's mother speak. These are moments that we are called to pay close attention to as Jews, as Americans, because no place is perfect. But the original sin of America, which we have to acknowledge it is continuing to reverberate through structural racism in our world. I want to ground this in the words of Heschel, and so I hope that you'll bear with me as I read just a little bit. This is from a book that I recommend to us all called The Insecurity of Freedom. I borrowed this many years ago from a neighborhood shul, and it was the best mistake I made as a young student. This is from an essay called Religion and Race, and I'm just going to read a little bit. There are several ways of dealing with our bad conscience. 1, we can extenuate our responsibility. 2, we can keep black people out of our sight. 3, we can alleviate our qualms by pointing to the progress made. 4, we can delegate the responsibility to the courts. 5, we can silence our conscience by cultivating indifference. 6, we can dedicate our minds to issues of a far more sublime nature. That's obviously an exaggeration. I'm only going to read one section here. If you think that we've made so much progress, this is what he says. To some Americans, the situation of the African American in those days, he said Negro, and I don't want to change his language, but he wrote this in the 60s, and I want to give him his voice too. For all its stains and spots, it seems to be fair and trim. So many revolutionary changes have taken place in the field of civil rights. So many deeds of charity are being done. So much decency radiates day and night. Our standards are modest. Our sense of injustice tolerable, timid. Our moral indignation impermanent. Yet human violence is interminable, unbearable, permanent. The conscience builds its confines, is subject to fatigue, longs for comfort. Yet those who are hurt, and the one who inhabits eternity, neither slumber nor sleep. So I just wanted to share my own clumsy language in an attempt to make sure that we don't stop paying attention, that we don't allow fatigue to be the reason that we think the world is just enough. It's not. George Floyd should be alive. Yes, the 4 policemen who assaulted him and the one who murdered him, they're being held to account, but that does not bring him back, and he is not alone. And so before we go, looking at the time, I'd like to ask us not to go anywhere and to just be quiet for a minute. If you aren't sure what you can do right now, you're not alone. But let's take a moment. And every breath we take, let's pay attention to the freedom that allows us to take that breath. Let's extend our breathing to every person by taking action so that their breath isn't taken away. Let's take just a moment of breathing. A few more sentences from Heschel, and then we'll say goodbye for now. Heschel says, indeed, the major activity of the prophets was interference, remonstrating about wrongs inflicted on other people, meddling in affairs which were seemingly neither their concern nor their responsibility. A prudent person is one who minds his own business, staying away from questions which do not involve his own interests, particularly when not authorized to step in, and prophets were given no mandate by the widows and orphans to plead their cause. The prophet is a person who is not tolerant of wrongs done to others, who resents other people's injuries. He even calls upon others to be the champions of the poor. It is to every member of the community, not alone to the judges, that Isaiah directs his plea, seek justice, relieve the oppressed. So friends, we are not prophets, but we are the children of prophets. We've got work to do. In the name of our tradition, we're going to do it. So if you are looking for a way to be helpful, you should know that UJA supports the Jewish Social Justice Roundtable. You should know that we are involved in countless efforts to raise up all of society by focusing on racial injustice. It is one of the core components of our work in the world to see human rights as a Jewish mandate, and it is part of why we do what we do. Without doing it, I don't know how we can love our neighbor as ourselves. And if it's the golden rule, it's a rule. So, let's breathe deep, everyone. Let's not forget the unbelievable privilege of being alive. Let's know that we will meet every day, Monday through Friday at 9, to give each other strength. Not to remove ourselves from the world, not for a moment. What a powerful recognition it is that even in quarantine we are so in this world. So may we be blessed to march safely, to have less reason to do so, but when the call is there, to not shirk our responsibility. To know that we will make mistakes along the way, but then when we make mistakes, there are ways of doing better. May the memory of George Floyd be for a blessing. May his family know that we are thinking of them, that we are sending them comfort, and that we are committed to changing things for the better. Let's sing our way out, everybody. Take a deep breath before we start. very soon. Have a good day, everyone. See you tomorrow at 9 o'clock.